I make so many models, and I put them all over the floor, and I leave them there for a couple of days. And then one morning I come in and I look, and I think, have I seen something here that I have never done before? Because I want to be surprised. I think it's really not worth working unless you can get surprised once in a while. I take different shapes of paper, sometimes strips, sometimes abstract shapes of paper, or I may use the same type of material, aluminum, to begin with and start to shape a maquette or a model. There is a kind of continuum in each piece, and it has to evolve that way for me somehow. On these very large public sculptures, you can't always do every part yourself. I learned this in a way from my husband, to depend upon other people who had the equipment and had the technical skills and license to operate it. You've done all of these.
Yeah, really cool.
We have such a history, Johnny.
Yes, we do. 30 years of it.
Yes.
My job is fabricating this stuff. She makes the maquettes up, and I'm the guy that turns it into the big live living stuff that everybody sees out in the courtyards.
This is the beginning I gave to you to think about.
Right.
Okay. And in constructing it into the metal, you discovered that you were not able to make this piece.
We're going to have a really hard time with it. We don't have the length to go into the rolls with it.
Right.
Because we have to put it in such a long angle.
Supposing we make it shorter. Let's take this apart here.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. If you can, remanufacture something for that element or a new element.
The concept of the artist, the idea of the artist is always there. And if there's any change that's going to be made on a maquette, which is the artist's idea, then it has to be initialed by both the fabricator and by the artist, just like an architect has people initial both parties if they're changing something in a house. Well, I think what we'll do is get you a model made up of these components, but in something that will take a shorter twist.
Yeah. We run into difficulties from time to time, especially when you're getting into rolling, especially this hard type of material. This is called 6061 T6 aluminum. It's called tool aluminum. It's the next step below aircraft grade. And so it's extremely hard. It'll hold its shape for a long, long period of time. And it's almost like a spring steel. It has memory. So when you roll this stuff, you really have to pay attention to what you do, because if you over-roll it, you can mess it up, or if you kink it, it's unforgiving.
I had to start from scratch with a new idea. I didn't try to remake the old one. I started thinking about that space around it, the space inside of it, and I knew I was going to have something that kind of was convoluted, that came together some way. So now we have, first of all, the model I gave to you, and then you were able...
From that model, I took it and made it one more size larger. So it's exactly double the size. All my layout marks are on it already, so all I have to do is transfer it onto the metal, cut the metal out, and then go from there and start rolling it.
Looks like it has quite a bend in it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take that out a little bit. Pretty much that's about it. It's just, right now it's just a matter of just fine-tuning all the pieces to make them fit and getting a relative shape to what Katie made as her model. And that's about all there is.
Because these are pieces for public art, they go outside mostly. My pieces are usually somewhere outdoors. I have to use a really strong paint that will hold up in all kinds of weather. And that's why my painter is very special, Enrique Ron. Good morning, Enrique and Angel.
Good morning. Beauty, beauty.
Oh. This is wonderful.
It is, I think, to me.
We received the raw metal from Kati Sculptor, and the first thing we have to do is clean it to make sure that all of the oils from the material is cleaned off so that the paint is able to stay on okay. And this was a custom color that you selected. This one was done with liquid paint. We do have people painting right now. It's in a black color, but it's a similar idea. Kati's pretty much the only one that we do artistic sculptures for, and so we do primarily standard colors such as black, white, silver, so it's always neat to get a mix of bright colors in here.
With a semi-gloss that adds a certain brightness to each piece, and I like that brightness, like the sunshine touching it. I like people to see how the construction is done. I like them to see all the bolts. What you see is what you get. The sculpture has to be very, very carefully packed. We have to pad it in every way we can. And the most important thing is we don't want to have to repair that sculpture when it reaches its destination. Sometimes a driver will forget the piece vibrates going over bumps and things. And I don't like to have to take a paintbrush and repaint that area. You don't get the same texture, you don't get the same surface if you have to go with a little brush and paint that part of it.
The blocks all cut and set, but I don't know where you sort of described where you wanted it.
Just sort of to the
So they kind of
back a little bit, so
offset.
when you walk through the plaza, you kind of see both of them at the same time.
You want them both on the same side or alternating side?
I think you have it right. It really is marvelous the number of places available now in the public realm for artists to put their work. As people come through here, the front will be here. The one in Orinda is quite outstanding because they just had this great desire to bring the artist into the life of people every day. The trees and the plantings and the buildings, the architecture, actually interact very nicely with big pieces of sculpture. Tell us something about this public sculpture program in Orinda. What gave you the idea to even start it?
Well, Orinda is a very small town, and it doesn't have the commercial base to assess commercial property owners for a special fund for art. So we contacted a dozen artists, and almost all of them said they'd be interested, and basically they just were going to loan their work to the city for a year.
And this fulfilled the dreams.
Well, you really brighten up this area, I'll tell you.
A touch of yellow plus.
Yes, we've got it, we've got it.
Perhaps my greatest satisfaction is hearing people say, "Oh, I love that. It made me feel so happy," or it made me think about something I had experienced. And just to see the connection between the people and how their attitude changes toward the sculpture as they begin to understand how they're related to it. The space, and of course, you know, you've heard me talk about dancing, how important that is, because when you dance you have to go through space and you have to understand space. I couldn't do this kind of thing if I didn't dance.